Welcome to the Three-Man Weave Show, hosted by SportsbookReview.com. Three-Man Weave back again, Monday morning, getting hyped, lots of energy. Jim's in a good spot. Hey, out there, guys, please like and subscribe to the channel right now before we start the show, before we do anything. SBR Sports Picks is the YouTube channel. And, of course, go to sbrpicks.com/NCAAB for more college basketball content, including our shows and some write-ups on some best bets. We're going to start with Matt Cox. We'll let Jim get on a soapbox next for his takeaways.
I have no soapboxes.
Takeaways from this weekend. Matt Cox, who is in Florida today, by the way, everybody.
I am Naples bound right now, Ky.
You're bound? You're not bound. You're there.
I guess I am there. I'm Naples present. Just a stone's throw away from Florida Gulf Coast country. So I was going to stop by Michael Fly's house and pay him a visit. Very disappointed with the way the Eagles have played this year. That's the primary reason I'm here, Ky, to hold coaches who have not performed well this year accountable. But yes, I'm in sunny Florida. I apologize the lack of paradise background. I'm still working on that. Under construction. Jim, I know your emotional well-being is also under construction.
Yeah, nothing matters. What's the point? Life, all joy is fleeting. Your teams, your favorite things will eventually lose or run out or end and will die. And
these are great lessons. I'm taking notes.
What we should all learn. So, let's talk about basketball as though the games are important. Let's do it.
Jim, you could be a St. Louis Rams fan like Matt and I. We lost our NFL team. So it must be nice having a team that makes the playoffs every year in the Packers.
Hey, they can't kick you in the nuts anymore, Ky. There you go.
Yeah. The Stanley Steamer gave us one swift kick on the way out, but that was the only kick we've gotten in a while. That's true.
My takeaway, guys, we're going to get positive here. Get Jim some energy. Mizzou, sole possession of second place in the SEC at 4-2. That's right. The Tigers are in second place in the SEC of basketball. Smack Tennessee. Yes, the Vols, they've lost 2 straight, looking very human. The Tigers have the second best defense in SEC play per KenPom. I'm going to throw some net rankings at you guys. Mizzou's 23rd right now. There's only 3 teams in the country, 3 teams that have 5 Q1 wins. They are Gonzaga, Baylor, and the Missouri Tigers. That's right. Missouri Tigers National Championship Final Four. It's happening this year. Let's start the show. Let's get rolling. Texas Tech at West Virginia. Big time Big 12 battle. Tech is off a home loss to Baylor. They do have 3 road wins in the Big 12 already over Oklahoma, Texas, and Iowa State. West Virginia just smashed K-State. They're just 3-3 in conference play. Let's start with Jim in this one. Westphal -2. Which way are you leaning in this?
Well, I don't know that I trust post-Oscar West Virginia yet. They haven't really shown a whole lot of great qualities at this point. They got down 20 twice to the Oklahoma schools. They blew it late to Texas. And then they beat a Kansas State team that everyone should beat by 20 in this conference, especially as shorthanded as they were. So yeah. I don't know that I've seen a lot from them. Whereas Texas Tech, they've shown some really impressive fight. The way they came back at Texas, the competing with Baylor for as long as they did. That game was much closer than an 8-point final margin. So I think this means, I guess, just to take West Virginia because none of it makes sense. And, if everything I'm thinking leans towards Texas Tech, then I guess West Virginia's the play. What do you think, Matt?
I have kind of a total lean here, Mr. McKeon. You'd think on the surface, right? Rugged Chris Beard, Bob Huggins teams sets up to be a boxing match. You're thinking maybe rock fight, under looks juicy. Not so fast in my Lee Corso voice. You look at last year's matchups, these 2 teams played to 75 possessions in each game. Actually, that was West Virginia's 2 fastest tempo games of the Big 12 Conference. Just something about the way these 2 teams match up that happens to set up at least the way last 2 games went. They could be a little up and down. So I would try and look a layer beneath just the surface of 2 physical teams, rock fight, under. I actually think the over could have some value just given the perception of how this game might be played out.
Keynote here, which I was surprised about. West Virginia is actually number 1 in Big 12 play in 3-point percentage, 39% in conference play. Huge, obviously, over Texas Tech's kind of packed in, no middle defense. Neither team's a very good defensive rebounding team. There's advantages on both sides on that end. Tech's going to have a hard time scoring against West Virginia, I think, guys. Matt did mention the physicality. It's still there despite possibly playing high possession in this one. So I do lean West Virginia -2. If it gets down to -1, -1.5, I'd probably make a small play on the Mountaineers.
No play for me there. Staying away.
No. Moving on. ACC match, Syracuse at Virginia. Jim Boeheim's our cover boy today. He looks stunning.
Yeah, how did that happen, by the way? I did not sign off on
that. Was me.
I didn't know.
Virginia's a perfect 6-0 in ACC play, but at Clemson's been by far their toughest challenge. They've yet to play UNC, Louisville, Florida State, and Duke. I'm including Duke because historically Duke's been good in the ACC. Matt, we'll go to you first. Q's 2 blowout wins over Miami and Virginia Tech in their last 2. Do they continue this with a win over Virginia?
It seems like we've been really, cozying up to the fade Syracuse play here. It seems like we bet against them quite often this season. They are starting to play well. I was kind of waiting for them to get Sidibe back before they really started to trend up. There's still no return or I guess official word on when he's going to come back. It seems like he's been day-to-day for weeks now. 2 things here. One, Sam Hauser in the middle of that zone could be a real X factor for Virginia. I just think, I'm sure Jim may have some advanced data that I'll set him up for here. But Virginia anecdotally is a very good zone offense. Pass ball very well, very unselfish. They'll find seams, they'll find gaps, they'll get good looks. Additionally, there is some 3-point regression anti-momentum against Cuse. Teams shooting 25% against them in conference play. Now, in past years, I would attribute that to the length that they have at all 5 positions. I just don't think this Cuse defense is as overwhelming with size on the perimeter that's actually causing that. So I think there is some luck that Cuse has benefited from here, Jim.
Yeah, last 2 games, the 2 blowouts that you mentioned, the opponents are 12 of 59 from deep, which is 21%. That's just not going to continue. Virginia's shooting 39% from 3 this year. They have shooters all over. Tony Bennett's been awesome against the Syracuse zone in the past. He's done some really clever things, putting Ty Jerome at the free throw line and having him dribble back out towards the perimeter, pulling the big guy with him, and just completely destroyed the defense 2 years ago. Last year, Virginia was one of the worst shooting teams in the country, so they lost to the zone and couldn't do anything against it. But obviously with Murphy, with Hauser, they've got a lot more shooting on the court this time around. I think Virginia takes care of business. I'm going to take +7 on the show here. Go Cavs.
-7, right, Jim?
-7.
-7, sure. Yes, that's probably a more reasonable line.
Yeah, Jim, I love the Tony Bennett versus zones angle. He certainly has great game plans always to destroy these type of defenses. Certainly Jim Boeheim's defense, one he's seen several times. They have the shooters this year, like you said. The one thing they're not going to do is offensive rebound, though. They're not going to take advantage of Syracuse's poor defensive rebounding in the zone. That worries me just a slight bit. Syracuse, yes, their shooting could regress, but they still do have shooters to shoot over the pack line. Alan Griffin, Buddy Boeheim is actually not shooting very well this year, and Joe Girard. So there's a possibility Syracuse keeps this one close. Yeah. I might lean their way if Tony Bennett wasn't on the other sideline. So, Jim, good luck with your -7. Go Hoos.
Thanks. Yeah, perhaps. And if they lose, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
I like nihilistic, Jim.
Packers.
I like nihilistic.
Who cares?
Okay, moving on. Oklahoma State, excuse me, at Iowa State. Iowa State 0-5 in the Big 12, but this one feels weirdly winnable, especially because Cade Cunningham is going to be out. By the way, guys, worth noting, Iowa State, their 2 wins this year are Pine Bluff and Jackson State. That's it. They haven't beaten anybody else.
And Pine Bluff was a barn burner for a while, by the way.
They both were. They didn't cover either of those games.
Oh, God.
Jim, Oklahoma State has beaten Texas Tech and Kansas this year. They even hung tough with Baylor without Cade last game. Do you like them as a short favorite at Hilton Magic?
Not particularly. I don't know. Cade and Rondell Walker, which I think is very notable that they would be missing 2 key rotation pieces, 2 guys that can hit shots. They kind of, I feel like Baylor was complacent against them early. They were very passive on defense. And when they turned it on in the second half, then they just completely pulled away. But obviously, Iowa State doesn't have that gear. Still, I just think Oklahoma State was up for that giant matchup. Now it's shorthanded. It might show up a little bit more. I don't have a great feel for this one without either of those 2 players. So this is a hard stay away for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the COVID cloud too, right? You have Iowa State off their COVID shutdown. Obviously, the protocols affecting the roster for the Pokes. Just so many moving parts there. I want no involvement in this game, so I will completely stay away here, Ky.
Huge advantage inside for Oklahoma State today. Iowa State's interior is tiny. Oklahoma State's going to rely even more on that dribble drive, pound the glass, feed into the post type of style without Cade Cunningham. Clone's offense, it's a lot of iso ball. OSU has a ton of athletes to defend that action. because it's Hilton Magic, because Cade Cunningham's out, I kind of lead towards Iowa State, but I'm with Jim staying away from this game with a 10-foot pole. All right, moving on to the Pac-12, Arizona State at Arizona. This is a rematch, guys, of a Thursday tip. ASU was up 7 points in that game with under 5 to play. Remy Martin finally showed up. He's been weirdly absent this season, on and off. It's been frustrating betting on the Devils, but somehow they did cover that spread in the last game. Matt, Zona's front court's been awesome, but we know all about Arizona State's talented guards. Is 5.5 too much in this game?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we were on this game in the first. I'll be on it again. I think the fact that they lost actually sets up for a better spot, right? You had that extra juice of motivation of get back, revenge working in your favor if you're a Sun Devil backer. The key thing we talked about before that first matchup, too, was the return of Jalen Graham. Arizona State has basically no resistance up front without him. He may have had a nice little return. Free throw woes notwithstanding, 2 of 6 from the line. He missed some big ones. That was frustrating. But 10 points, 3 blocks, 2 steals. Just his presence to help neutralize some of the size that Zona can throw at you. The other thing here, too, I don't think Zona's going to go 55% from 3. Right. I think Arizona State has those shooters, but Arizona sans Gerald Baker is not a great shooting team. So I just think there's potentially a cold shooting night that you catch Arizona on. And I think for those reasons, Arizona State has a ton of value here.
Yeah, I lean towards Arizona State. I mean, these two teams deserve each other after watching that first game. Like, Arizona cannot play in the postseason. Arizona State will not be playing in the postseason. So they should just play 10 more times until the year ends.
Leave the state. I agree.
They both do some very questionable things with the ball in their hands. They take some weird shots. They sometimes just decide not to play defense. That's mostly Arizona State. But yeah, I mean, these two teams should just play 10 more times, and we'll get a bunch of entertaining games that are probably high scoring and ultimately are meaningless, the theme of my pod or my mood today. But it's too many points. I think Arizona State's too talented. These teams are basically even. They will make similar mistakes on both ends. 5.5 is too many.
Yeah,
I'm not taking it though, Matt. I'm not quite taking it with you.
I will be taking it as my best bet. Obviously, it's a short slate tonight, so not a lot to pick from, but I think this is the best value here. So let me pounce at plus 5.5. If I can get the hook, if not, I'll take 5. We'll see what the chat mob says, Ky. The jury is still out.
Yeah, I liked it at 6 or higher, guys. I'm staying away 5.5, but I agree with Matt. There's no way Arizona shoots 11 for 20 from 3 again. Akenjo was unconscious. That's not happening twice. I appreciate how Arizona ended the game, though. That tip-in was lovely for the +3 ticket holders. All right, guys, we're going to chat mob questions. I don't know if there are many. I'm seeing a lot of trolling, but not a lot of questions. Chat Czar, do we have any questions?
I'll hit you. CC just asked about Loyola Marymount versus Portland. Ooh. I personally think that's a little too high. Loyola Marymount was missing 2 starters last game in Douglas and Quintana. We don't know for sure that they'll be back, but I mean, Portland is all kinds of bad. So trusting them is something I am loath to do, and I am not going to take it as an official show play, but it feels a little high to me. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Matt, here?
Yeah, and so not only is Portland State poorly coached, not that talented.
Not Portland State.
Sorry, Portland. Portland, also not a really well-coached team. But Portland, not talented, not well-coached. They also have some roster shuffle. There's a revolving door of guys in and out of the lineup. I think Isaiah Dasher, starting guard, was out last game. They did get Chase Adams back, who's actually my favorite of those backcourt dynamos they have there. But no, you don't bet on Portland. It's either fade or you stay away here.
Yep, agreed.
Let's see. We've also got Michael Black asking about Radford, UNC Asheville. This game will come up later in the show, so I'm going to defer that. It seems that someone, Hotmail 1219, is asking about Western New Mexico versus New Mexico State. There's no line. I have no breakdown for this one. It's just good to see the Aggies back
in action. Yep. Jim, I made it 25, so I think it's a good line here. It's a sharp opener. I'll be staying away.
Yep. Mississippi Valley State will come up later in the discussion as well. Texas Southern. Let's go to Andrew Carr asking about the Salukis heading on the road to Indiana State. Ky, what do you think here?
I lean towards Southern Illinois. I'm not super confident in it. They're coming off a shutdown. They haven't played in a few weeks, but 7 points is too high. So I lean towards SIU, fully realizing that a couple players might be out for them. You never know with COVID shutdowns, and Indiana State could smash them, but that's enough value for me to take the Salukis.
Yeah,
that's my concern.
Mullins talked about how he was concerned about the roster availability. Right. So you have to assume someone or multiple will be out. The question is who. So it's just sort of a wait till you see a lineup and then maybe you pounce. But even then, I wouldn't risk it.
Yep. Better Spectator asked about Southern U and Alabama State. We got a lot of swaction tonight.
A lot of swag,
baby. I lean towards Southern there. I think Alabama State's really bad.
Awful.
They couldn't really blow out Mississippi Valley State, which I think is the ultimate condemnation of a team at this point. So I would lean towards Southern. They've gotten some guys back, some of their down transfers. So I would lean towards the Jaguars on the road.
Yeah, they're a deep team too, Jim. So one of those teams that typically you would think would play well as a favorite. You can't really let off the gas when you play 12 guys who are all, pretty equal in caliber.
Yep. Yeah, and it helps them on that short turnaround. Both these teams playing Saturday and then Monday again. Harry R. asking about, can Gardner-Webb dominate the bottom of the Big South? I mean, I guess this is kind of like a general question. They got backdoored in a tough way yesterday by Charleston Southern, a three basically at the buzzer by Flanders Fleming. I would guess that Gardner-Webb kills them again today and stays above the number, doesn't get backdoored, but I don't have a strong play there.
Yeah. No, I think it's the second best team in the Big South, and it's just weird to see them at 4-5. So I think that adds a little bit of a motivational factor. So probably should play well as a favorite today.
Ky, I'm going to let you start scrambling now because Matthew Winnick says possibly Mississippi Valley State, Texas Southern might be canceled. So the potential best bet in that game no longer applicable. I'll at least let you research it, or I'll try to find out for sure.
I'm gonna wait on some confirmation for that one, but we can continue on with the show.
Let's go back to the outline.
Head back down to the outline. We're going to the Missouri Valley, guys. Loyola Chicago at Bradley. Loyola -7 once again against the Braves. They took care of business in the first matchup. Loyola's now number 21 in KenPom, guys. They got up 22-4 on Bradley. Bradley's banged up, man. No Henry, no Boya. I think Loyola continues to score at will inside. Krutwig is a monster, and he showed it in that previous game. But Jim, the Braves did almost come back and give Loyola backers a bit of a scare, didn't they, in the second half?
Yeah, they battled. I mean, Loyola got up 22-2. They got up 50-25, and they were 3 of 14 from deep. They didn't hit threes. They didn't really need to take any. They just carved Bradley up inside, and without Boya, Krutwig is just dominating. Rinkmask cannot guard him one-on-one. So we got to the line. He got inside and opened up the rest of the defense, opened up some driving lanes because they had to send doubles. On the other end, Loyola's defense has been brilliant lately. Like it has been outstanding. Bradley could not score for most of this game. Loosened up towards the end. I mean, I would lean towards Loyola doing the same thing again today, but some of that back-to-back turnaround Bradley at home does concern me enough that I am not going to officially endorse this one. Matt, do you see another blowout in the works?
Yeah, I kind of do. Just more macro take here for me. The Sister Jean Mojo is back, and the Ramblers are 9-1 in their last 10 against the spread. What I love is how deep this team is and how versatile they are at all positions, and Porter Moser has harnessed that. And I think you've seen that really shine through. In the 3 back-to-back second legs in Missouri Valley, the Ramblers have been awesome. So this is their 3-0 ATS in those first 3. I think you can see a similar type of suffocating performance today because they just have so many bodies. The way they defend you just sort of deflates like the morale of the opposing offense. They just get after you and shut you down. So yeah, I think the Ramblers actually went fairly comfortably today, even though that goes against some of the pendulum swing momentum shift that we've talked about in some of these back-to-backs.
Ky, I can confirm that the Mississippi Valley State game has been postponed, officially released by MVSU Athletics. So
that's a shame, guys. I was about to win money on Texas Southern. That's okay. That's okay.
It was a lock.
We'll talk about. I'll talk about my best bet later on in the show. Then we will move on to our next game. Utah State at UNLV. Mountain West battle. Right off the bat, guys. Bryce Hamilton. Is he out or is he in? If he's out, I think Utah State wins this game pretty easily, double digits, because UNLV cannot score without Bryce Hamilton in the lineup. He's the 10th highest player in the country. 10th highest used player in the country. 5th in percentage of team shots.
Player in the country. Yes. Oh, you tell us about Ky.
Hilarious. Hamilton is also 5th in percentage of shots taken on his team. If you've ever watched UNLV play, you know they need Hamilton to score the basketball. Yep. So, Jim, we'll go to you first here. -6 for Utah State. If he's in, are you still leaning towards the Aggies?
I would probably lean towards the Aggies. Yeah, they lost last year at UNLV and on New Year's Day and got embarrassed, like just completely run out. It was disgusting. They couldn't score. This time around, they're just so big. They're kind of running like a finely tuned machine. They lost to Colorado State, but a large reason of that was Nimi Keita got in foul trouble in the second half and basically just didn't play for like a 10 or 11-minute stretch. I don't think UNLV can do that to him. They don't have the guys that can attack him the way like David Roddy did in that game. So I would lean towards Utah State here. Their length is just so difficult to score against. UNLV a little bit struggling offensively, and then it just gets worse if Hamilton's out.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if all hands are on deck for UNLV, the line does feel a little high, but I have no appetite to bet against Utah State right now. Just the way they move the ball offensively, I can't believe how good these freshman guards have been, and the evolution of Keita from just a plotting big man shot blocker to defensive weapon and offensive hub. Super impressed. Just that Colorado State game, both those games, super high level basketball on both sides. I do not want to fade Utah State no matter what the number is at this point.
Yeah, I think spread's a little low. I lean towards Utah State, even with Hamilton in there. They should dominate on both ends. They really are on a different level in the Mountain West. I do like the over, actually, if Hamilton is in. I wouldn't play it if he's out, but
I agree with that. Yep.
Leaning towards the over in that game. Utah State, man, they've been scoring a crap ton of points lately. Okay, moving on to our last game on the rundown before we hit best bets and gather up any more chat mob questions. UNC Greensboro at Furman. Furman -5 right now, maybe some -4.5 out there. Furman's lost 2 straight games in the SoCon. VMI and ETSU really haven't looked good this year. 5-7 against the spread. Certainly not the Paladins team I was expecting. Greensboro 4 straight wins. They seem to be hitting their stride, Matt. I know you like one of these sides. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Majeski talked about how good Furman is as a press offense. And I wrote down before the line came out, I had a hard Furman lean, but then I saw the opener, and it was way higher than I was expecting, especially with, as you mentioned, how poorly Furman has played. Greensboro has been lights out. You know, they struggled early. They weren't making shots. They're not a great shooting team, but they're better than a 28% three-point shooting team. So they're kind of trending on the up and up. The matchup does not, it doesn't sit well with me. I probably should have a big bet on this, just given I was, 2.5, 3 points off the number. But Furman has been so good against pressure. They're so well. Their bigs come up and help break the press. They can pass, go tic-tac-toe down the court in 2 seconds. So for that reason, I've only took Greensboro small, but I do think they're the right side just from a value perspective, Jim.
Yeah, Furman is a shooting regression candidate. We've been ripping on them for how badly they've been playing lately, but they're hitting 31% from the outside. In conference, their opponents are hitting 39%, and that it just seems like that's going to at least even out, or if not, be better, because Furman is an awesome shooting team, and they get pretty good shots too. So perhaps that's the reason for some of their struggles lately. I think they're 1-5 against the number in their last 6, with a couple bad outright losses. But I just do think this is too high, Matt. I mean, start of the year, I thought these were the 2 top dogs of this conference. Greensboro split with them last year. Greensboro actually won at Furman last season, and Furman won the other leg in Greensboro. So it's certainly possible for them to win on the road. I think it's a little too high. I'm not going to quite join you. I would have liked an extra half point or point to take them. But yeah, I just think on the number, I would lean towards the Spartans.
I lean towards Spartans too. Number 1 defense in the SoCon this year. Should be a tough nut for the usually great Furman offense to crack. I agree, Matt. Furman's ball handling is excellent. Their guards are great. They can probably handle this full court pressure you're going to see from Isaiah Miller and company. But Greensboro is going to own the glass, man. They are truly good on the offensive glass. Kind of how they're scoring this year, besides Miller just stealing the ball and running down and getting a dunk. Yeah. I think 5 is too many. 4.5, probably still lean towards Greensboro. But I do lean towards the Spartans with you guys.
I kind of think there's a lot of points in this game. My only concern, though, just as a broader point, there's a lot of these schedules coming up where you're having reschedules of canceled games. So both teams playing their 4th game in 9 days. Just make sure you're on the lookout for that. Just looking at some of these spots for a lot of these teams. This week and next week, you'll see a lot more crammed, back, not, 1 day off, 2 day off, back to back to back.
All right, let's go to best bets, guys. I believe you guys already shared yours. Jim, you first. You haven't shared yours, actually.
I have not shared mine. No, I have got off of the extra board. We got UNC Asheville. I think it is still -3. This team got outplayed yesterday, quite simply. Radford outplayed them. It kind of looked like Radford was the better team. But watching the game, it seemed like just one of those games where bounces didn't go their way. And Radford is really shorthanded. They were missing their best player, freshman guard Famir Ali, another starter, Charlotte transfer Drayvon Mangum. I think that shows up in the second game of the back-to-back. Asheville built a little confidence getting that win in overtime. there's a chance that it flips back and Radford splits the two games, but I just think Asheville's the superior team, and with Radford shorthanded, I'm riding with that -3 at best bet UNC Asheville.
I might be seeing some 3.5, 4 out there, Jim, but I believe your screen over mine currently, and we'll let the chat mod maybe hold us accountable there. I lean that way too, Jim. I lean towards Asheville. I think they are the better team. Matthew.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it light today. Just Arizona State +5. I was looking at Alcorn +5. They're playing Alabama A&M, SWAC showdown. I just like both these teams a lot. So I think 5 points is too many. I think they're basically, looking in the mirror on par with each other. I will stay away, not make an official show play, but that's one more lean I'll throw out there for the chat mob.
Yeah, guys, my best bet was Texas Southern. It's canceled. That sucks. Truthfully, and this is, I had 3 plays today. I had Texas Southern, I had Arizona State at a higher number, and my last play, Southern Illinois. So since Southern Illinois is still sitting at 7, I'm going to make the Salukis my best bet.
It does feel hard.
Do I encourage everybody to bet this? Absolutely not. Southern Illinois could have guys out for this game. This board's just kind of picked over. SIU, +7, best bet. Lock it in. Let's go. Go Weave. All right. Wrapping up with chat mob questions. What games haven't we hit, Jim?
I believe we have not hit Alabama A&M hosting. Alcorn State.
Yeah, yep. I just briefly touched on it. I mean, we can break down the matchup here. I just think Alcorn has a few transfers. Otis Walker from SFA, a really good SFA team. They have Kirk Lee from Drexel, who was a star before he got hurt. So you have like legit talent on Alcorn going up against Alabama A&M, who has some grassroots talent, freshmen, sophomores that have been promoted this year. So I just think it's two pretty feisty teams in the SWAC. Again, I lean Alcorn, but no official play for me.
Yeah, I lean Alabama A&M here. They've been really, really good. Alcorn basically almost blew the game against Alabama State.
What was that about?
A team we just kind of trashed. So I'm a little concerned there. Maybe this team's not as good as some of the individual parts seem to indicate that it might be.
It's possible.
Lean towards Alabama A&M. The other one, I don't think we touched on Prairie View A&M at Pine Bluff. This is kind of like a class of the conference against dregs of the conference. I made this 9, but my line felt low. It feels like Prairie View A&M against the bottom tier of this league is going to win by double digits. That's just kind of my gut sense.
Yeah, they come at you in waves of pressure. Just watch them play Texas Southern. I was, jaw on the floor watching how tenacious their defense were. My issue is I don't know if they can score enough to cover this mountain of a number. Pine Bluff will throw that zone at you. Maybe Cam Mack and the some of the new pieces there aren't used to that. That's my only concern. I think it's Prairie View A&M or nothing, though.
Whispers in the mob that it might be postponed. Yep.
Gosh.
So, a lot of crazy happenings going on in the SWAC.
Morbid Monday here. Jeez.
Yep. Let's just hit Presbyterian High Point for completionism.
Right. Sure, why not?
Presbyterian might have had some guys get hurt yesterday. Some really low minutes counts for key guys in the box score. And High Point took care of them once already. If Presbyterian's shorthanded, I would probably lean towards the home team. High Point getting another double-digit win.
Yeah,
me too. Nothing for me here.
Yeah. All right. I believe that is every game. Right. Remember, guys, that your team could win all the games and then suddenly lose. So it can always come crashing down. In a sad state of affairs.
I think some guys in the chat think you're talking about your own bets.
Oh, I don't care about my bets. I mean, I do. I do. I want them to do well, but I am in a Packer sadness.
Very loudly. Jim's a Packers fan. The Packers lost this weekend.
Yes. In horrific fashion. It's a dark place today. It's a dark Monday.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us once again. We were back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central, for another exciting episode of the 3-Man Weave Show. SBRpicks.com/NCAAB is where you want to go for more college basketball content. Again, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, SBR Sports Picks. We will see you tomorrow. Good luck.